we're back with Still Left Out in America. And we've got Safronia Perry with us. And Safronia, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Hello. No, thank you so much for inviting me.
Now, we've known each other for a long time. You're the executive director of Hope Station. You do all kinds of stuff. I've seen you speak downtown about everything from women's issues to race relations, to all kinds of important things. And just about the time we started thinking about a podcast, I started noticing on Facebook that, first of all, you had an absolutely adorable new grandbaby, and that you were gonna launch a podcast because of this grandbaby making you think things. So we wanted to get a hold of you and talk to you about your new podcast.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so tell us about that. How could a 3-week-old child make anyone do anything?
Well, actually, I'd already been deciding that. I'd already said I wanted to do a podcast. I put it on my little vision board that I want to do a podcast this year. And I thought about some of the things that I wanted to talk about. I just hadn't really started doing anything yet. And then after my grandson was born, he was born June 1st. And after he was born, there were a lot of things that were happening in the country with race relations. So it was a lot of protests and things. George Floyd had just been killed, and that set off and sparked all of these protests. And while I was there visiting with my son and my daughter and my grandbaby, I really started looking at him and thinking, I want things to be different when he's 20 years old, when he's 30 years old. I don't want him experiencing these same things that are happening right now. So I started thinking about different things that I felt like I needed to do more. Outside of what Hope Station was doing, it just felt like I needed to do more. And as I was thinking about a lot of things, I was having a conversation with actually my tech guy. And, he was the one that suggested, we were having a conversation. We were going back and forth just about things in general. I was mad, and I was telling him some of the things that I was mad about. And he was like, you know what, you should start a podcast and just talk about these things. He was like, you could just have conversation. He was like, people listen to you, you've done this, you've gone out, you've spoken. You should just start doing this. I have all the equipment that you need. So, we talked a little bit more. We made the plans, and, we thought I was sitting around all night and I was trying to think of a name. And first it was going to be, Conversations in Black. But then I was like, I think that somebody else already has that. So I'm thinking. And then I thought, you know what? It's going to be Conversations with BB. BB is Swahili for grandma. So that is my new name that my grandson will call me. So I thought, you know what, this is what I'm going to call my podcast. And we just dropped our third one yesterday, as a matter of fact. And it literally is it's a very easygoing thing. I love it. We just have conversations about what's happening, what we want to talk about in the Black community. And it's very relaxed because it's not like I'm in an interview or anything. So we're just very relaxed, and, we're just talking about issues that are affecting us. And we're having conversations about things that we in the Black community talk about every day, all the time anyway. So that made it really easy because we're already having these conversations.
Do you find that you spend a lot of time, it always irritates me when victims of oppression have to be patient with their oppressors and then have to teach them something? It's like, couldn't you as the oppressor go a little bit out of your way and learn that on your own, without, it drives me crazy. Men
Yes.
do it to women all the time. But do you find yourself constantly educating people and thinking, why don't you get it?
Yeah. and some of them, they honestly, they hadn't thought about things before. And so whenever they're coming to me with these conversations, it really is like, you know what, I just hadn't thought about it before. And I get it. If you don't live it, you don't have to think about it all the time. That is the privilege that we speak of. I can't imagine a life where I don't have to think about my Blackness every day. And what I need and what's happening in my community. I can't imagine a life like that. So yeah, I get a lot of those that, I just don't, I've not thought about it before. And I'm patient enough that I'm okay Sometimes, most times with having a conversation, there are some times when I have to say, there are books, you can Google things. There's a lot of information that's out there that you can get, because I also want to remind people that I'm not an expert. I can speak on what I feel. I can speak on conversations that I have, but I am not an expert in anything. I'm not a historian, and I'm still learning a lot of things about our history myself. Like, I'm literally taking the time to educate myself. I'm reading books, I'm taking classes, I'm getting ready to take a social justice class. On the 25th is when it starts. I'm literally learning. I want to know and absorb as much as I can. And so I want other people to do that without feeling the need to always come to a Black person and say, hey, can you tell us? Because it does place a lot on us. It always, we always have to be the nice ones. We always have to be the ones to forgive. We always have to be the ones to, stay above the fray, while we're already trying to navigate how to walk in this world and teaching our kids that, you have to go above and beyond always, even though you're still going to be seen as less than. This is what you have to do just to even be in the competition, just to even be in the running, so it can be tiring. It can.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes, it depends on the person, and it depends on how they come to me with how I feel about whether or not I want to engage with them.
I have a real problem with white people, and on a regular basis. and I know people, and I know they don't get it, that they are racist. And I don't know what I am. I know that I struggle every day trying to make sure that I am as fair as humanly possible to every person I come across. But I'd be an idiot if I thought I knew what I was, for sure, what had been ingrained in me. But one of the things that irritates me the most is the white people who don't get the problem with the police. And I am not saying all police, and I can't even believe I have to do the disclaimer that I'm not saying all police. But I can tell you there are white people who complain about the defund the police or get the police out of the neighborhoods movement, who have illegal radar detectors in their car because they don't want the police to pull them over for speeding. These white people who already in their own mind, they have internalized, I don't want the police messing with me. But they don't see that is ratcheted up 700,000 times for people of color, right? And if you get busted, if I get busted for speeding, I'm gonna get busted for speeding. I'm not gonna get hauled out of my car and, and accused of something that someone who doesn't even fit my description might have done. All the many things that can happen to a person of color when they're pulled over. And these white people already don't want the police to talk to them, but they don't get it. And that willful ignorance, they are not ignorant of that by accident.
Well, no, they're not. They're not. And I've had to say to more than a few people, and I do realize that some things need to be changed, like sometimes whenever you title something, you have to be careful how you title it. Defund the police is incorrect. Right. They should change what they're saying, because they're not actually saying that they should dismantle the police. And that's what everyone, oh my gosh, you want to dismantle the police, and then how will we run things? That's not what they're saying. I believe that, police, we do need police to, because of law and order, we do need that. But it's obvious, and we all know, that police departments are getting funds, and they are being tasked to do things that the police don't actually have to do. Mm-hmm. There are others that could be doing that work. And some of that funding that they're getting for things that they're not even using, is they could take that money and they could put it in organizations that could help to decrease crime. We all know, and people don't want to acknowledge, that a lot of the crime and the things that are happening within the Black community are happening because of systematic racism. Nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to believe it. They just want to say, oh, the criminals. And this is in the Black community too. So it's not just whites that do that. It's Blacks that do it too, because we haven't taken the time to educate ourselves and understand where we are and why we are here. Racism has built this country. This country has been built on racism, and it is in every single factor: our jobs, our education, our housing, our everything, all of it, where we live, all of that is because of racism. The fact that men were taken out of their homes, when they built the project housing, they said, okay, well, we're going to put this housing up for you. They didn't put much effort into making the housing good. We're just going to throw this housing up here for you. But by the way, your man can't come with you.
Right.
If you have a man, he can't live in this housing with you. You're going to have to live here by yourself. So what does that do? That helps to create, and it helps to sustain single parents and men living outside of the home. And so the family structure has been broken now. And now you're wondering why these children are having some of the issues that they're having, because they don't come from a two-parent home. And I'm not saying, and I want to be very clear, because I am a single parent. So I am not saying that every single parent has issues and breakdowns with their children, because that is not true. My children I'm very proud of both of my sons. And a lot of women have been doing this and doing it very well. So I don't want anybody to take what I'm saying and try and run with it on that way, because I'm not saying that. What I am saying, that as a single parent and coming from a single parent myself, having a dad in the home is important. Having a dad in the home helps to set that balance for our kids. It doesn't mean that they're going to stay on the straight and narrow, because a child is going to do what a child is going to do. It's not saying that, but you give them better options when you have that. And that has not happened. They took all of that. Drugs were brought into the neighborhood. There's no way that Black people said, oh, we're going to bring all this imported drugs here into our neighborhood. How are we going to do that? Yeah. It's not like we had any power to do it. We didn't have planes or anything like that. That's not how it happened. So drugs were brought into the neighborhood, and it destroyed some of our neighborhoods. And so we are still reeling from that. We're reeling from the traumas of Jim Crow and segregation and slavery. All that trauma has just passed down to each generation, because it's not talked about, because we don't get the education, because we're just trying to survive in a world that doesn't want us to survive in it. And honestly, that's how a lot of things have really happened in here. And understanding that the police originated as overseers. They were the ones to go out and find the runaway slaves and bring them back. So, to understand that, there are police that are really good police officers, and I will never take that away from them. But those really good police officers, excuse me, those really good police officers need to stand up, right, and stand against the really bad police officers.
Yeah.
That's how you do that, because there are some that are they're awful. They are intent on, they're racist. They're intent on bringing Black people down as much as they can. And then there are ones that are not, but the ones that are not need to stop the ones that are.
Right. People mention that, what are we going to do if Donald Trump refuses to leave the White House? And my answer is lock him in there and build a new one that wasn't built by slaves. Right? We got our White House was built by slaves. So leave the racist in the White House, board it up, say goodbye to it, and let's pay a decent wage to build us one that's respectable.
And I'll be careful. I'll be careful how I speak on that, because of my position. So I try to be real careful. I'm not sure where the line is drawn, so I don't say much. I will say this, that no one president can just stay in the White House. When it's time for them to go, if he's elected out, he's got to go. Because, now they don't work for you anymore. The Secret Service, the people that are working it, they don't work for you anymore. They work for the new president. So, you can try and stay in there if you want, but they're going to take you out of there. If they have to carry you, you're going to have to go.
I was just like, whatever, I don't care.
I know, and I know that people are scared about those things, but no one person can do that. Right. When he's not, if he's no longer the president, he is no longer the president. And the right. things that he's been able to do, he'll no longer be able to do. He won't have the staff or any of that to do that.
So to go back to one of the things you said a minute ago about taking the other parent out of the family, one of the things that I've worked in housing forever, and one of the things that really was wonderful about the last the housing changes that were made in the prior administration was, they made it a priority to eliminate veterans homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of opinions on that. Basically, most importantly, is that the veterans are the only homeless people who are trained to be homeless, right? They're the ones with skill sets, and they really take care of each of the other people
Right.
they find themselves with. But one of the things that the VA did through the Supportive Services for Veterans Family thing that was so novel and really needs to be done in this HUD housing that you're talking about, the housing and urban development housing that was left open to people, is for these veterans, they're allowed to designate who their family is. And unlike the housing you're talking about, where it's like, okay, you better be a single mom or you're not going to qualify. They get to say, my nephew, my boyfriend, if it's a guy, he can have his boyfriend designated as family. You can my mom, I need my mom to live with us. I was a single mom too, since my kids were like 2 and 1. And most of the time I had another adult in the home because I couldn't afford to live on my own. So I always rented a room to another adult. And that other adult was a good other parent.
Yeah.
They just having another adult there, someone to hear your kid when they're upset with me, right? Someone to talk to. It's a terrible thing we've done to communities to deprive them of that. And it was corrected for the VA, and hopefully it'll be corrected as housing moves forward. When the same thought process is going forward.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. So what do you think, I know your podcast is really new, but what do you think it's evolving into? Is it for your community and people outside your community get to sort of peer in, or do you want to have it be for the greater community at large?
Well, honestly, I think what I would like is for it to support conversation. So some of the things that we talk about, like the very first one, we talked about an incident that occurred with me and 5 other women as we were doing our weekly walk. We were, and I'm going to say accosted. We were accosted by an older woman who questioned us about why, if we were there to cause trouble, and typically you look at it, and you say, well, an older person asked us because they're teasing or whatever, but she asked us that because someone had been shot the night before. And so her asking us that was because we felt like, and I look at it like she felt like we were on the wrong side of town. And how dare these 5 of which are middle-aged women, why are you over here walking? Are you going to cause some trouble while you're over here? And so it was good to be able, first of all, it was a good outlet for me because I was angry. I was really angry about it. And my first guest was the woman who started the walking group. So she and I just went off of the dialogue. We just had a really good dialogue and conversation about how we felt about it, what it did to us, and how wrong it is, and how it makes people makes the Black community feel. So it was good that so many people listened to that podcast that day and commented on it, because they got to hear the pain, not just see a video, that has that's showing you something that's happened, but you actually got to hear how we felt about what happened to us, how we handled it, how we felt about it. What I'm hoping with this podcast is that anybody will listen to it, and anybody is welcome to chime in and give feedback. Anybody is able to ask, if we can speak on a particular topic. I, don't have set topics where I'm sitting down, and saying, okay, so for this month, we're going to speak on these topics. It's kind of, let's talk about this next week, and let's talk about that next week. And I want people to engage. I want people to say, can you guys talk about this? Because I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And then once they've heard it, comment and say, you know, either I disagree with what you said, or I agree with what you said, or, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, you know, this is how you feel. Some people, you know, they look at me, they know that I'm the executive director of Hope Station, and I think that they set that apart from me being who I am, which I'm not sure why, but I guess because I'm in the face of Hope Station. And, you know, and I'm nice, I'm supposed to be. You know, and not because of my job, but that's, I'm supposed to be. You know, I'm not, but I'm not
Everybody's
any
supposed to be.
different.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, and
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that, don't feel like, oh, she. I can talk to her because she's nice, and I don't know about other Black people. We're nice people. That's, I mean, we're nice people, but that doesn't mean that I don't have feelings and that I don't think about what happens to my own family, and that I don't want to cuss sometimes. I want to cuss all the time. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it's just the truth. And so I want people to feel like they can, you know, they can listen in, they can talk. If they want to be invited on the show, I don't have a problem with inviting somebody different to come on to the podcast, and we can go back and forth and talk about my feelings on this. All of the content, all of the issues, everything that we speak about every week will be black content, but that doesn't mean that only Black people can be a part of it. You know, it's about having conversation, and
There's
that's
so much,
literally what it's about.
there is so much work to be done with white people. I have neighbors, and I've never met them. I live downtown, so sometimes you just don't meet your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And so these people came and they knocked on my door, and I hadn't met them. I do know that, well, I think one night the guy shoveled our walk for us,
Oh, okay.
meaning to go over and thank him, you know. So they came and they knocked on my door. They were a white couple, and they had these posters, 3 posters, Black Lives Matter. And they said to me, can you put these in your windows? Because our landlord's making us take them down.
Oh, wow.
Right? So of course,
Wow.
I was like, yeah, immediately they're going up.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, they pay their rent. They rent those windows. They have their own windows that they have paid to have.
Wow.
And the landlord came to them and said, those signs are coming down. You know, no discussion. And so white people really need to get a clue. And and I'm sure, maybe not sure, maybe that landlord knows that was a racist thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he does. I don't know, but I know that my neighbors were hurt. You know,
Yeah.
they wanted to show solidarity. They wanted to be allies, and they were being robbed of it.
Yeah.
A place to live.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in. And he probably doesn't think about what he did as racist, even though he is one. He probably didn't think about it like that, you know, like, no, this isn't racist. This is just, you know, I don't want you putting this, you know, promoting this propaganda. I'm not a racist. Because there are a lot of them that'll say, I'm not a racist, and not understanding that all white people are racist. They were born into racism. You know, they were born into privilege. I don't care whether your parents had money or not. You were born into privilege. Now, the thing is, how do you navigate in the world? Do you decide that I don't want to be this, and so I want to be an anti-racist, and I'm going to put in that work so that I'm not that? That is the difference. And it took me an understanding. I can't even pretend like I've known that forever. I had a friend to really be like, no, all white people are racist. And I was like, no, they're not. No, because I know. And he was like, they are. They are.
Yeah.
And as I started reading more and learning more, I was like, you know what? Okay, I get it. I get it. And I think we all have to get it.
And it is an evil thing, which is why white people get so upset when someone calls them out for it, because racist is evil. But if you can't, I mean, I remember the first time a Black woman I worked with told me that she was scared because she wasn't going to get home to pick her son up and he was going to have to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't scared I wouldn't have been scared for my son. And when I knew that the only reason she was scared that I wasn't scared was that her son was black and that mine wasn't. When I realized that, it was a very sad, horrible day. And to live that way, how awful to live that way. Your whole life you're frightened for your children like that.
We live it every day.
So upsetting.
Every day. Every day. I have grown sons, and when they're going out at night, you know, I have to say to them, please be careful. Be careful. Now, I feel, living here in Carlisle, I feel a little bit better about it now. But there are times, like last weekend.
In Carlisle.
Well, you know, like last weekend. Now, last weekend I didn't. Last weekend I've been on Facebook, and I saw everybody posting and talking about the truck show that was here. And, you know, somebody had posted that racial slurs were being thrown out at them. Somebody had posted that, you know, they were making comments and calling them names, calling them libtards because they were wearing masks. And, you know, made a comment about Black Lives Matter. And so when my son said to me, because we live downtown, and when my son said to me, hey, Mom, I'm going over to Super 7, and then I'm going over to, you know, I'm going here. And I was like, okay, so listen, you need to be careful because this is what was said. And now my son, he's a big guy. So I'm not, listen, if they're going to come after him, it's going to take a few of them. But just the fact that he could be pushed to want to put his hands on somebody. And he is a very gentle giant, I will say that. But that doesn't mean that he's going to stand back and just take anything either. And so, you know, of course I had to say to him, please be careful. You know, when you're walking there, you know, just if somebody says something, you know, just continue to go on about your business and get on back. You know, that's a shame that I had to say that to my son, who's going to be 21 years old. And I had to be worried until he texted me and said, hey, Mom, I'm over at Dejan's house. I'm good. I was worried. I was worried, and yeah, it's not an easy thing to have to live like that every day of your life.
Well, and until an awful lot of white people start learning to worry for you, I don't know how it's going to get much better. But I do think people, I'm excited by the, you know, the night after night after night of Black Lives Matters protests, and I was just on the tail end of the first civil rights movement. You know, I was a kid, and I remember my mother picking my brother up, you know, going downtown to pick my brother up because of he was protesting, you know, but there was Vietnam then too. And, you know, there were, but now it's the first time I really feel like maybe it's just the number of people who had never heard of Juneteenth was, you know, amazing. And I didn't learn it in school, but I did learn it like 15 years ago or so. And so, but I'm sure that's because I was lucky enough to be in the media and I report things like that. But I know you've got another appointment to make, and we've kept you all this time, but maybe we can keep checking in on you and see how your podcast is going. And
I would love that. The name of the podcast again is Conversations with BB. There's a whole page right now that it's on as Conversations of BB. And as we're growing things, hopefully we're looking to put it on YouTube and get it bigger and add video to it and a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, I appreciate you know, you taking the time to talk to me about it. I really do.
Great. And we'll put all that stuff in the credits so people know where to find it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Pat. I so appreciate you.
Thank you, Safronia. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one.